Here on Treaty 7 territory, nestled in the Rocky Mountains with the mighty Bow River at an altitude of 1,309 meters. Born from coal dust in 1884 and ever-changing, this is Canmore, and we are Canmorites, and this is the Canmorite podcast. Let's go. Hey there, it's me, Jeff Maw from the Canmorite podcast. We're chugging along deep into campaign season for a lot of different candidates. This upcoming Monday, we have our vote. And right now, we're kind of shining a little bit more light on another parallel race for the municipal election, and it's school board trustee. And so with me today, we have
Brian Callaghan.
Brian Callaghan. How are you this morning?
I'm well, Jeff. Thank you very much.
Good.
And you?
So
Yeah, good.
I'm not bad. So
Okay.
a little stressed with it all. So Brian, with the school board trustees, what happens is typically here in Canmore we have two spots. We have three candidates running, and you're the incumbent. So tell us a little bit about maybe yourself personally, because not everybody knows all the school board trustees, and so I think a little
Okay.
background history would be lovely.
hmm Well, once again, Jeff, it's an honor to put my name before my community for consideration.
Hmm.
I have been in the Valley for 40 years. Some of the longer residents will know that I was responsible for building Elizabeth Rummel and the new Lawrence Grassy and Canmore Collegiate in my time as superintendent. I raised my four children here. They all went through the school system from grade 1 to grade 12 and are now part of the Calgary economy. So sorry to say that, but I
Right.
say that to a lot of parents. Come grade 12, our sons and daughters may go down the highway, and once they've been there a few years, maybe they always say, "Dad, never sell the Canmore home. We'd love to come home to visit." But having said all that, we're a bedroom community to the big city that has all the trade schools and universities, and that's the way it goes. Jeff, I've been a member of this community for a long time,
Hmm.
whether it's through Ralph Connor or whether it's through the Rotary Club or the Palliative Care Society,
Yep.
uh, the Banff Canmore Community Foundation Board Service. You know the things that we do. We just build better communities and work collaboratively with people. And part of active citizenship is contributing to the community you live in a very powerful way that makes life better for all citizens. And having said that, as a school board trustee, if you've dropped into some of our schools over time, we receive well over children from 50 different nationalities here.
Hmm.
We work to receive students internationally who come to school here. I too have been a homestay parent to a boy from Japan and a boy from Germany. They're now fast family friends. We continue to have Canmore students through the Rotary program go abroad to study and add to their resume. So serving at the public school board level is a very official um, position in the pecking order of
Hmm.
things. We're governed by the Education Act and all the rules and regulations. And Jeff, some of the people out there may know that I work as a consultant to the School Boards Association
Mm.
in helping with governance and assisting boards in their Roberts Rules of Order procedures and general life. So I bring that all to our own table here as a trustee.
Right. And so I think
Yeah.
one of the interesting things for on your resume is you were formerly
Yeah.
the superintendent. And so
Yeah.
to be the superintendent and then to see it through the lens of the school board trustee,
Yeah.
what sort of insights do you gain from
Yeah.
having that role prior in your
Yeah.
history?
Well, one person asked me that very early on in my tenure, and they said, "So what's the difference today?" So when I retired as superintendent, having served from '89 to 2012, I went
Hmm.
to work for the Trustees Association in Edmonton and basically stayed away from the local scene,
Hmm.
school board scene, because I was serving all over the province.
Right.
On asking me what it was like to come back, remember I came back during a contested election, contrary to another candidate saying they're uncontested. That's not true, factually.
Hmm.
And I said, at 5:30 in the morning, I used to be up every morning in the winter discussing road conditions with the transportation coordinator. Now my job as a trustee is to make sure she has 25 highly functional buses, and I
Right.
sleep till 7 o'clock. So I don't have to get up and do the managerial portion. I can rely on the staff to make those expert judgments. looking at it as a trustee now, Jeff, I'm up at
Hmm.
30,000 feet. I'm not on the ground.
Right.
Uh, our job as a trustee is to work through the rules and regulations and bring them to play in our schools. We have considerable freedom, though, to be rather entrepreneurial, and
Hmm.
our system takes great pride in that. And I'll get into a little bit of that later, what it looks
Sure.
like.
Hmm.
But when you're a trustee, one has to afford parents and students all of the rights and privileges that are granted to them through the Education Act very faithfully. All meetings with constituents are public. Jeff, you know this. There have been over 100 public meetings in my 4 years, and I can tell you, I wish I could tell you more people attended, but they don't. Some people not at all.
Yeah,
That's the way
life
it
is
goes.
hard to get
So
to all the
I
meetings.
interpret that as a great trust,
Yeah.
right? But
Hmm.
I don't want to be frivolous here. We
Sure.
do our work. They're all public. They're all online, much the same as your work is. And anyone who comes to meet with us, you know this to be part of our cultural and jurisprudence, is all calls are logged. All meetings are recorded, and you know what that is. That is to protect all parties. And that's the way it goes. So everybody I have met personally with parents who've wanted to come and talk to me with the superintendent, and all of that is afforded to parents. No one has ever rebuffed or refused
Hmm.
an opportunity to speak to us or submit questions for the agenda. It's all
Okay.
it's all public. We have to govern that way by law. It's not a choice in a sense. I mean, I'm
Right.
happy to do it, but it's to afford our citizens always a level playing field.
Hmm. Yeah, because there's a
Okay?
protocol that is
Yeah,
followed. Um,
yeah,
so let's touch back a little bit on running on record. I know you twigged a little
yeah,
bit towards say
yeah,
like this one trait of, some school boards are more entrepreneurial or
yeah,
innovative. So
yeah.
let's talk about that piece because I
Let's
think
talk
some people
about
would
it.
like to remember what that's all about. Yeah.
That's about. Well,
Yeah.
when you look at an entrepreneurial spirit, it's
Hmm.
also that slash collaboration. So, all of our documents are made public. You know that we have incredibly wonderful support by the POW Foundation.
Yep.
Between that and the money that is earned offshore internationally for international program, plus the many credits we bring in with the Outdoor Learning Center
Hmm.
just out here in Bow Valley country brings into the board a considerable portion of its budget that is outside provincial revenue.
Hmm.
Jeff, I'm not trying to pick a fight with how we're funded at the provincial level, other than to say, in all caps,
Yeah,
we're grateful for the entrepreneurial spirit because
for sure.
what the spin-offs for parents are this. You have all of the school council fees to belong to their provincial association. The board pays for it. So
Hmm.
parents don't have to fundraise for that. Okay,
Hmm.
it's a
Hmm.
given. When you look at lunchroom fees, parents used to pay that when we came in. We talked it over as a board and we said, let's give parents a break in the wallet. So
Hmm.
they don't pay any lunchroom fees for their little children to be cared for.
Hmm.
You look at all the capital projects, Jeff, that we have put
Hmm.
on. Look at Canmore Collegiate, okay, the expansion of that building.
Yep.
Look at what we've done for the the Alpenglow parents.
Alpenglow. Yep.
Look what we've done at Banff High School to refresh that whole school too. Look at the improvements at Rummel and Grassy between the library, the sensory rooms. All of that money, Jeff, is entrepreneurial money,
Hmm.
okay,
Hmm.
and grants. The POW Foundation money allows us to hire district psychologists, occupational therapists, none of which is funded by our provincial
No.
government. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because I
Right.
could take your whole program. But
Yeah.
that's what it looks like when you
Hmm.
say an entrepreneurial spirit. I know I don't want to get into we try to monetize everything, but we look at opportunities for our facilities to be available to our community for
Hmm.
after hours programs, daycare programs. Jeff, look at over the past. There used to be the old Quonset hut that was the daycare.
That's right. The old
This
Quonset.
public school board in
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
time made way for the new daycare downtown
Hmm.
on land that was given to us by the miners of the day back in
Hmm.
79 to allow that facility to be on site, Jeff, for
Hmm.
$1 a year. We
Yeah.
negotiated that with the provincial government. That's a direct saving to citizens and parents of people who are doing everything they can to stay here and build community. At least they've got a beautiful daycare center, to
Hmm.
look forward to, and not that older facility that's now affordable housing land, I think, right?
Well, the,
Yeah,
the concept's always like a running mystery over what whatever happens to it. Um,
yeah,
I,
yeah.
like I think another like big piece when I kind of think of like like hairy audacious goals, getting them over the
Yes,
line is with the LGMS lands, and I think like I'm assuming
yeah,
you're probably going to touch on a bit Colliery
yes.
Park. Yeah.
Yes, Colliery Park is very close, Jeff, and I know
Mm-hmm.
you're close to the process. We are proud to have stood before you as our council three times
Yep.
to, in a sense, address our community at large
Mm-hmm.
and present our vision. A lot of it stems is resting on this notion of affordable housing.
Yep.
As we look at our properties for the school board, for our teachers and staff, we're not in it for a profit motive.
Mm-hmm.
Our rents will not have to include a portion of land cost, right?
Mm-hmm. That's
This
right.
is the heritage. I'm not sure the miners could have ever seen this day, but the long-term goal, Jeff, is to build a foundation fund, much the
Mm-hmm.
same as the foundations in the Bow Valley, that will then disperse money back into the school system,
Yep.
much the same as foundations put money out there, whether it's Rotary or the Banff Canmore Foundation. We've
Right.
already set up that board
Mm-hmm.
and it will become more operational once the development permits are given and the construction starts to take place. So that's a model for us
Mm-hmm.
to turn that land into what now is just a very nice place to stroll your bike or walk your dog into something that'll benefit our staff and as a flow through. Go to the bottom line of the school board budget in years to come. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a perpetual kind of flywheel of looking after our interests. I only say that because I cannot be always dependent on government funding,
Absolutely.
and that's about
Um,
school
yeah.
taxes, and that's a complex issue.
Yeah, it's a complex issue.
Yeah,
It changes with the government. Like I
yeah,
do feel like, from what my short experience being just on one term, the concept of provincial downloading always seems to increase. It never seems to
yeah,
go the other way.
yeah,
And so to actually have a critical mass of funding to create some sort of trust that has a reliable stability
yeah,
way to spin off money to help like run projects
yeah,
is a great
yeah,
idea. Um,
yeah,
and so you're running for another term. There's probably some
yeah,
things, maybe some stones left unturned, things that you still want to do
yeah.
or see forward. Share with the listeners, like, what are some of those
Okay.
pieces that are kind of like, like
Yeah.
keeping you that motivated to keep running?
So we've talked about the Calgary Lands or the Lawrence Grassy project,
Yep.
as people may know it, more colloquially.
Hmm.
Just recently, we were approved a major grant from the provincial government education to develop a Canmore Collegiate Institute, which allows for specialized funding to meet the needs of students who want to start to engage in training and exposure in the workplace or the trades. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
2 years ago, Jeff, you may know I brought in a delegation of German education ministers into the Bow Valley and the province. The minister was very taken with how the German education system gets men and women, or boys and girls, ready for the workplace at a bit
Yep.
younger age. But
Hmm.
that's not to say that young Alberta students are not interested in the workplace. So we have been given a grant, a seed grant by the ministry to start to develop those programs out of Canmore Collegiate and into the businesses and industries within Canmore. That is a big take, Jeff, because
Hmm.
as a dad, not all of the boys and girls want to track to university. They want
Nope.
to go off into a trade or a certificate-based program. We want to get them ready to become that kind of I know trust or candidate Conacosta said future ready. Yes, it's in our documents, Jeff. We don't know what that future looks like for these kids with absolute certainty, but we want to
Hmm.
start giving families and them an option when they're 15, 16, and 17 years old to start to explore those uh, beginning
Hmm.
of idea concept and what I might like to do, you know? So that's a big one for us.
Right.
And so that's a big one.
Hmm.
Expanding Canmore Collegiate into that area. We have programs in environmental sustainability. They've got a big push on the foods program over there.
Hmm.
We're kind of looking after our own children from a dietary perspective. Not that it should be our highest priority, Jeff, as educators, but I'll tell you, you're a dad. You know that not all kids come with a happy tummy in the morning.
Oh, for
So
sure. Absolutely.
we greet them as they are. There's no means testing.
No
You simply
stigma.
come. and you have a meal, okay,
Yep.
and you're good to go with us. That's a big one. We would very much like to look down the highway, Jeff. I
Hmm.
want to talk about this to
Hmm.
our Exshaw School. We've done modernization of their restroom facilities. It doesn't quite get a front
It's
page
not
headline
razzle
in
dazzle, but it's important.
Razzle
It's
Dazzle,
important. It's
but
important.
our next big
Sorry.
project down
Right.
there in consultation with our elders and knowledge keepers is an expansion of a cultural room onto the Exshaw School, which you know has
Hmm.
about 95 to 97% Indigenous registration. So I wanted to segue that into one of the
Hmm.
major accomplishments of this term, Jeff, was to secure long-term federal funding for the Indigenous children in our schools.
Hmm.
And that was a bit of a go around with the federal government during the last election.
Yep.
We had to rely on the assistance of Senator Sorensen out of Banff. She
That's
did
right.
yeoman service. She was able to get through hallway doors that were locked because we were in a federal election, but she
Yeah.
got things moving and we were able to resolve this. And we met at Lawrence Grassy Council One meeting and presented all of our findings. So that extra $6 million a year, Jeff, allows us to work with students both culturally and academically.
Hmm.
Our Indigenous student graduation rate exceeds the provincial average by 20%. It's up in the 80th percentile.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, those are numbers that we're able to get to because we're able to put the resources in to our schools. We have elders who work with us,
Yep.
and they inform how we speak about the relationship between us. We have a solid relationship with the Stony Education Authority and respect their protocols and how they like to deal with government. They are the ones that have government to government. We're the service provider,
Hmm.
but we've got a wonderful working relationship with that group. So that was a major accomplishment for the school board in the last couple of years to secure funding. And I remember talking to a lady out at Exshaw, and I was saying now that all this has settled down, what do you want for the future for your child? And
Hmm.
she says, the same future you have for your child. That's it. We didn't have to go down any political
Yep.
pathway. She aspires for her children what you and I aspire for our children. So she summed it all up very succinctly, but right from the heart.
Hmm.
I'm happy also to say, you know, when we look at Canmore Collegiate, all of the
Yeah.
projects you see there, both on the high school side and for Alpenglow, that's not provincially funded. That's us working with our local dollars and those
Hmm.
entrepreneurial dollars. The federal government has a little bit of money in there because First Nations children benefit from
Sure.
those facilities. So we're not relying on the provincial government for a lot of things. They are the funders of about 90% of our budget. Um, so being mindful of that, we put that money back into the best places we can, Jeff, and that is
Hmm.
staff. You know, the biggest line item in your budget, and ours is 70% human resources.
Absolutely. Human capital. Like they make
That's
the
it.
magic happen. Yeah.
And all of our contractors, they're all local men and women. So all
Hmm.
this money flows into the local economy, and I feel for some of our small shopkeepers right now during the current situation.
Yep.
Maybe folks aren't going out for the famous cappuccino at $8 a cup, but
Yeah.
that's another issue, you know.
For
But
sure.
so those are the big things that are out there. We've tried to bring as much relief to parents in terms of cost out of pocket as we can. You know, Jeff, that the government limits how much we can keep in reserves. That's
Yep.
by law. So we put it back out there into our schools in both capital and services and supports, you know, for staff and children. So that's what motivates us.
Yeah. And
No
there's a
other
lot.
no other agenda.
And
Yeah.
it's so we're kind of winding down towards like the end of
Yeah.
our time here, Brian. And
Yeah. Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
so much that's been done, and there's some incredible initiatives. And like for example, when you're talking about like the graduation rate for Indigenous students, that's not the sort of thing that just happens overnight. That like takes
Correct.
multi-year commitment to like programs and all that sort of stuff to actually see someone through all the way to the end of that to get that sort of
Yeah.
statistic. So it's a big lift, and it takes
Yeah.
commitment.
Yeah.
As we wind down in here, is there any last final thing that you'd like to say to folks that are curious when they come to the ballot box and they're looking at
Yeah.
all the names, they fill out mayor and councilor, but then there's this one section like school board
Yeah.
trustee.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to say just for people to keep in mind at that point?
Yeah. Jeff, I've been dedicated to this my entire career. As you know, I started out as a lowly substitute teacher way back when, and had a wonderful career. I've dedicated my life to this community, to building the infrastructure that families enjoy right now. I look forward to continuing that level of dedication. Um, children are our most precious renewable resource, and I love saying both congratulations and sadly goodbye to each graduating class. And some of these young men and women are now out in the community. They come into my home and go, "Hi, Mr. C," and they're here to to provide me a service. All I can tell you, when I get their bill, they're making more an hour than I am, but that's
Yeah.
that's here nor there. I'm just saying, Jeff, I'm dedicated to this community. I've been here for going on well over 40 years now, and feel very at home in my community, and I will commit myself to, service to our families and community, and working collaboratively with our municipal councilors, who we, under the laws of the land, we have to work collaboratively, and
Yep.
that's the only way to get it done. There's no I in team, Jeff. That's
No,
I'll
you
leave it
got
at
her.
that. Okay.
Right. Well, Brian,
Okay.
thanks
Yeah.
so much for taking the time this morning.
Yeah.
Wishing you all the best for the rest of your
Yeah.
campaign, and
Yeah.
let's see what happens in a couple
Okay.
days.
We
Okay.
will.
Okay. Take
It's in the
care.
hands of the voters.
You
Okay.
got her.
Bye
Okay.
for now,
Take care,
Jeff.
Brian.
Okay. Bye bye now.